Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, the YouTube channel and podcast made by Celtic fans all over the world, for Celtic fans all over the world, from Lenzie to Leith, Barlinnie to Braga. Wherever you happen to be watching from, you're part of A Celtic World. And who do we have with us today? We have Stephen in Australia. G'day, Stephen. Did I pronounce Lenzie correctly?
Oh, yes, you did. Absolutely perfect. Yes, I'm very well, thanks, Gav. And hello to you, and hello to Brian too. Yes, it's been a nice weekend here in Sydney. Nice weather. The spring has sprung, and the temperature's rising, and the water just at the end of my road is looking very, very inviting. So the old budgie smugglers will be getting looked out shortly, and let the summer commence.
They're the Machiavelli ones, aren't they? The leopard skin ones.
Leopard print, yeah.
Leopard print. You know how to say leopard skin anymore.
I think you're forgetting, Stephen, that it's morning time in Scotland, so some people might have just recently breakfasted. So the thought of you and your budgie smugglers is not going to go down too well. Brian, have you any budgie smugglers, or are you more of a boxer man?
No, I jeans in this. No, I would definitely not budgie smugglers. No, too hirsute for that. Boxers or football shorts. One of my faux pas was wearing a pair of white Celtic shorts in a swimming pool. Must have been about, I don't know, 2001. It was one of these new fitness places, and we got free passes to go in, and I didn't realise that obviously white was see-through.
Straight out of
a couple of these really
in-betweeners.
Something in-betweeners, and I couldn't. We were sitting in the jacuzzi with these couple of girls, just as you do, and I wouldn't get out. I just realised, and then they says it's okay already. So yeah. Well, there we go. Yeah, all good. There's one.
So you're stuck in that jacuzzi for about 3 hours while you're waiting for
it was come out like
the coast to be clear.
Prune face out of Dick Tracy, another one for the kids. But didn't make that mistake again. So stick to the black, the Celtic black away shorts from whatever.
Always good advice. All right. Well, hello to everyone in the chat. How you all doing? We'll be bringing up your comments. I've been reading them. They're coming in thick and fast this morning. And we'll move on to that subject, in fact, after we do this. Have a quick look at the thumbnail. Quiet improvement. Are we quietly, slowly getting better this season? Our players begin to make connections, etc. Is that taking far too long? Are we still rubbish? Your silence is deafening. You can see in the background there, behind a pensive Brendanrodgers. And, of course, the league table, beautifully imposed over the top.
No Rangers there, no.
Say again?
Oh, right, sorry. I was wondering where Rangers were. I didn't see them in the top 7. They must be lower than that.
They must be.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our work of art for today. And, the silence is deafening is probably a good place to start, because that's what a lot of people are talking about. Monty's in with the first comment. Morning, Gav. Was that the game on Saturday? And this 15-minute silence needs rethought. I certainly feel the disconnect between fans and the club very negative and is creating an unhappy environment. Well, let's just quickly look at this before I get your thoughts. This is from the Celtic Fans Collective, which is the announcement that was made suggesting a 12-minute silence against Hibs, 29 minutes, first 29 minutes against Braga, and the first 32 minutes against Motherwell. Now, obviously, we're remote fans, right? We can't do on-the-ground protests or anything like that. Stephen, what are your thoughts on this generally?
Well, I think it's it does create an uncomfortable atmosphere at the game, and I do understand some people are not really on board with it, but I think we have to realise that that's the point of it. The point of it is to create publicity, basically, keep the issue at the front and centre of people's minds. because the easiest thing to happen is for it to, the transfer window's now gone, everybody moves on, and everybody forgets about it. So what the fans collective are trying to do is they're trying to come up with ways to keep this in the public domain and keep people talking about it, at least until the AGM, which is coming up in November. And that's going to be a very important day for the club in terms of, because that's the only time we know for a fact that the board are going to communicate in some way, shape or form. So that's a very important date. And I think till then, we just have to think of ways to keep it, to keep the issue up front and centre. Now, I think the collective group are quite happy to listen to ideas on this. And as we know, we're involved in the discussion group, and they're always open to ideas. But it's not easy, and there's not an awful lot we can do to force this issue. And all we can do is to just keep it out there. And I think, although it's difficult, it's probably the right thing to do at this point in time. I'm not too sure how it's going to go from here. I'm not too sure how it's going to go in the European game when they try and do it for 30 minutes. But certainly, I think it was uncomfortable at the weekend, although it's hard to tell from the TV. But obviously, reading some of the comments and the messages tonight and on social media was definitely created a bit of a bad atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one. I think the thing is, Brian, the Celtic Fans Collective are going to be releasing a number of initiatives, right? And the first one was the not entering the game, and that was for until 12 minutes were up, and that was one game. This thing is proposed for 3 games. These are all relatively short-term initiatives, aren't they? And there's going to be a series of them. Although this one has caused a fair bit of division, do you think they'd be wise to rethink it for these next 2 games, or just see it through and then we'll move on to the next thing?
Like anything else, you don't know till you try. And if the players are getting affected by, bit of silence about the ground, well, so be it, because, many times did they go to Ibrox and with no fans, didn't hear anything apart from sectarian singing, which brings me on to another point about Sky or whatever, Sky TV yesterday. Russell Martin GTF was at full voice and not a word said, not even an apology for listening and hearing that kind of rabble at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But it's again else. It's a long-term goal, and it's going to make things uneasy for the board. Again, they haven't spoken, since the letter's been sent. They haven't come out and said a statement. So we'll just keep doing it. I look forward to the day that they throw tennis balls on the pitch, the way the Italians do. I hope that's going to be at some stage. But no, it's come to this, and you'd understand doing this if we're losing. We're doing it because they're not running the club to the best of its ability. They're hoarding cash. They have no respect for the fans, and they just need to get out. And I don't care anymore about the hierarchy and all the rest of it. They're just treating fans like scum of the earth. And I was actually, believe it or not, delighted for the Rangers won yesterday, and hear me out on this, because they hate Russell Martin so much. I don't want to bring it back to them, but they hate Russell Martin so much. The fact that they won was a good thing for because they hate him so much. And we're bigger than that. We're better than that. We're the board, at least Rangers board, are coming out and speaking to the fans. This board are doing zip. They're waiting for it to go away. And I personally, I'm not bad at anything Celtic related. I was a big tart when it came to buying Celtic stuff and in the Celtic shop. I'm not buying Adidas till this changes. And this is Celtic's in my blood. End of. And it's being run by Tories. The club has lost its identity. More than just a club. Bullshit, excuse my French. They need to get them Tories out the board and what is it, Nicholson, 800,000 a year for what? It's too many cronies, too many jobs for the boys, too many Darren O'Days and Stephen whatever hanging around, Stephen McManus. Root and branch clear out. Get them out. Get the best people in for the job. And I mean that with the manager as well.
Well,
but anyway, sense.
It'll just be interesting to see, I think, what happens after this. I think they'll have to stick to their guns with this plan. It's just the next couple of games and then move on to another one. But, no course of action is going to keep everyone happy. Definitely not. It's a hard job.
The forced their hand, that's the thing.
That's the bottom line, though, isn't it? That's the bottom line, and this could all stop tomorrow if the board decided to engage properly with the fans and provide and signalled some sort of intention to answer the questions that were put to them in the open letter. But it's been radio silence from the board, apart from one statement, which was clearly written by AI out of someone's mansion, a billionaire's mansion over in Dublin. So this isn't. We didn't pick this fight. This was a fight that was brought to us due to gross incompetence over a number of years. So the ball's firmly in the court of the board. Now, you're right, Gav. You're 100% right. No protest is going to suit everyone. A lot of people don't like boycotts. A lot of people didn't like staying outside the ground. A lot of people don't like the silence. A lot of people, as Brian mentioned earlier, if it were to throw tennis balls on the park, a lot of people wouldn't like that either. Certain people will still be buying merchandise because that's what they do. That's how they like to spend their money. And we don't have a right to tell anyone that that's wrong. But what we need to do is, as I mentioned earlier, that we need to keep the issue front and centre. And I think they do need to see this through now for the next 2 games and then reassess the impact of it. But the fact that we're sitting here talking about it tonight, the fact that the comments are going off about it means it's done its job. It's kept the issue current and it's kept the fans talking about it. And certainly it's kept the media talking about it. And ultimately that's what we're trying to achieve.
Well, you mentioned the comments there, Stephen, and a lot of the comments are raising the same points that they don't want the team to be affected. The Green Brigade are the people behind this, various other things, and I have a short little video here to play, which goes some way to answering some of those concerns, I think. So it might just clarify 1 or 2 points if I play this. Okay, so let's get on with the game, shall we, gentlemen? Brian, your thoughts on the team?
I was surprised to see Ralston come in, considering how good Colby Jonathan was previously. But again, it's a squad game. Good to see Sriracha in there taking a bit of pressure off KT, and then I like McGowan. Good to see Angles back in, and the rest picks itself.
Stephen, I'll unmute you. I think there's a bit of background noise there. Your thoughts on the midfield in particular?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's since transpired that Hitati's injured. He's carrying a bit of a hamstring problem, so that probably explains his absence. But people, pretty much everyone was asking for the midfield to be rotated, and that's what he did. So I was probably surprised to see McCowan in there in front of Bernardo, but that would probably be the only surprise for me. I think it was Engels was certainly due a start, and I don't think he's done that much wrong in his time at Celtic to be cast out in the wilderness. So I was glad to see him getting a game, and it was nice to see Iheanacho. Iheanacho is clearly the number one striking choice now. And when as his fitness improves, if he stays fit, if no injuries permitting, then he'll be in. I think he'll be in from the start in every game. And it looks as if Johnny Kenny's the man who's going to come off the bench. It doesn't look as if Daisen Maeda is considered as a striking option now. But what the team did underline, and Rodgers has said as much, is we've got a real problem in the right hand side. We don't have a right winger. And he's fumbling about, trying loads of different things to see if we can stumble on a solution, because there's not an obvious one that presents itself.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's go through some of this action. I took this from highlights, not the full game, so a little bit blurry, and I may have missed one or two incidents that just weren't included in the highlights. Luke McCowan, as you say, and people in the comments are noting had a good game. This was his first contribution. He gets on the ball there and he plays the ball down to Maeda, who you see at the bottom of the screen. This was a great pass, wasn't it, Brian?
Yeah, he puts it over to Maeda, who runs on down the wing and gets it in for Iheanacho, who didn't hit the crossbar or went just wide from memory. I think we hit the crossbar 3 times in the game. So, yeah. One of those, another day that goes in, but it didn't. But great move. And I think Iheanacho's really, his hold-up play is, you can see he's different class. Delighted to see him in.
Yeah, he should have scored at least one today, though, or in that game. I mean, he had plenty of chances.
He should have. That was probably the most obvious one. He should have scored. But I think, when you got the ball flashing across the goal in front of you, just concentrating and getting a connection on it. And you think, obviously he felt if he gets a good enough connection on that, it's going to go in the net. But it was quite unlucky that it came back off the bar on another day. That would have bounced off the underside of the bar into the net. But he was quite unfortunate. But probably, if he's seen it back again, he would probably admit himself that he should have scored.
I feel like we're going to say on another day several times in this analysis. It was one of those games, wasn't it? Here's the next bit I've got. This is Sriracha looking like he's not going to shoot. And then suddenly he does, Brian, as you say, and then hits the bar. That was a great moment in the game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he's really come on the game, without sounding stereotypical, but it's good to see the aggression and the determination and quality. It's just a great shot come across. And I think it's something we've been lacking, the inverted fullback since Taylor's went, and he's come in, and I think it gives us I like him. He's South American, Uruguayan. He's got a bit of cojones, as the saying goes. And he
looks like a good player, no doubt about it. And he's just slotted straight in, proper pro. He's been around a bit. He's playing really well.
Galatasaray, he's played there, and he's played at Boca Juniors, and he's not a shrinking violet. By all accounts, he's a good guy in the dressing room, allegedly.
Allegedly. It's too bad he's only on loan with no option. Stephen, this was a heart and mouth moment, was it not?
Yeah, I think that was the one. Yeah, the boys come over, and I think both the Celtic centre halves, so you could see them there, both watching it, and it was a case of one leaving it to the other, I think, but it bounced in a sort of no man's land and just up and over the bar. So I think that was really all that Hibs offered in an attacking sense, especially in the first half. But yeah, that was a bit of a scare.
Yeah, maybe it's time to sort of refer to this sort of comment here from Brian Warry. It was by far the most improvement we've seen all season in terms of play. I was really enjoying that first half. I was thinking, oh, this is really good in comparison to the dross that we've been sitting through for a long time, it seems. Noting how well the midfield clicked without Hatate and Negron on the park. Calmac is and always has been key to this. When you were watching the game, Stephen, were you thinking, "Oh, this is clear improvement"?
Well, definitely, and
Yeah,
I've noticed a bit of a narrative across social media since the game finished that it was more of the same touches, boring football. But I think these people must not have watched the game because anybody who did watch the game, you couldn't fail to notice they were much better. The football was faster, the passing was crisper. The movement was better, and I do think that the midfield looked so much better. Probably, Hatate and Negrin have both really been struggling, certainly in the last few games. Hatate in particular, I think, was definitely due a spell out the team. And Engels has got it in the neck again from the usual suspects about his performance, but the midfield was definitely better with him in it. And we definitely look more like ourselves going forward. So yeah, I think definitely an improvement. And the only thing that was missing was goals. Look, if the one we just watched there with Iheanacho, if that goes in, I reckon we run out about 4 or 5-0 winners.
Yeah,
and that's the key.
Day.
That's the key in these types of home games. It's all about the first goal. And if the longer you go without getting that, then it gets harder to get to make the breakthrough. So you score a goal in the first 20 minutes of that game and it opens up and we run out comfortable winners, certainly in my opinion. But without a doubt, clear signs of improvement.
Yeah, and it's improvement from a low base, Brian. Like the point I just pulled up there about us being bang average. We're nowhere near as fluid as we have been over the past few years, We've regressed to like a real low ebb, but we're starting to claw our way back up. Is that how you see it?
Well, you put the table up there earlier, Gav, of scored 8 goals. This time last year, many goals had been scored by then.
Well, we'll get onto that, as you know from the notes.
But sorry for railroading you again. It's getting better if players are starting to gel a bit more. It'll come. I mean, Hibs came and put 10 men behind the ball, and if the Iheanacho goal goes in at the start, it's a different game. They have to attack us, so they were happy to sit and get the point. But many teams have came and played like that against us over the course. So. As Stephen said earlier, it could be worse. You could be sitting there with no opportunities. I mean, we hit the bar 3 times. The goal was offside. I've seen them given, but
okay. Well, let's carry on with some of the action then. Celtic work it down the left, and the cross comes into Engels, who, Stephen, I hear what you say. I thought he had a reasonably good game, certainly the first half. But he could have done more with this, could he not?
Yeah, I mean, he did. It look as if he lacked a bit of conviction in his finish, and I'm pretty sure it's just a confidence thing with him. And who can really blame him for that? Because if he reads social media at all, he'll realise that a good chunk of the Celtic support have just given up on him. And I've just marked him as just a terrible player who's not good enough to play for us. But I definitely think there's still a player there. He definitely should have. I mean, he should have scored there. There's no question about it. When you get a clear shot at goal and you're 8 yards out there, he needs to be putting that in the net. And I think he probably worried a bit too much about the guy coming across to block the shot. He should have just put his laces through it. He's maybe just being a bit too deliberate. And again, I think that's just a confidence thing. And I'm pretty sure if he gets a run in the team, I think we'll see a decent run of form from Engels. We don't really have a choice other than to play him, even if people think he's not what we were sold or whatever, not worth the fee or whatever all the other stuff that's been said. But he's a member of our midfield rotation, and he's going to have to get game time. He played well for us in Europe last year, and I hopefully starting on Thursday night, he can recreate that.
See, Brian, I put myself back into my younger days as a hot striker, running onto this. What do? I hit it with my left into the big bit of the goal that's available.
Yeah.
It's easy to say that from this still. But the fact that he chose to go with his right, he couldn't reposition his body. I watched this over and over again. He had loads of time to sort of run onto that and smack it with his left. It's pretty disappointing that he didn't do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, you have 2 feet. I don't buy into this whole thing about, you should be able to use both feet. So, and the time, the millisecond it takes you to turn, could have been in. But he had more runs in a cricket. Very good.
All right. So that was that moment. The keeper then obviously saves it. It was very straight towards him, actually. Keeper, as always, the keeper had a good game. The keepers always have good games against us. Iheanacho heading over from a corner. You can't really see that too well from that angle. Here's a better angle. Would you have got up and nutted that one down, Brian?
I wasn't great in the air, Gav, over the years.
No, surprised me.
It was all right. I was sort of 50p headed. I was able to get up for it, but I never could direct it properly. I remember trying to recreate the infamous, my favourite World Cup goal in your garden. Remember Billy Hamilton, the diving header?
That's right, yeah. Used to recreate that all the time. Hamilton.
You could fall on your face. I ended up going down. Didn't really do too well, but yeah, infamous goals.
Well, here we go again, Stephen. Sriracha yet again in the box. Look at this. He fires a low ball across the front of goal that we've seen converted 1,000 times in the past few seasons. Well, not 1,000 times, but lots of times. And Iheanacho just sort of misses it. Frustrating, eh?
Yeah, pretty frustrating. But you could see from that first picture there, he was offside anyway. So I don't think that one would have counted even if he got anything on it. So, but I think it's maybe just symptomatic of the fact that he's just getting back up to speed. And maybe in 2 or 3 weeks, he would have latched on the end of that. I think he's just maybe lacking half a yard. But definitely, if he got on the end of that, he'd have been offside.
Several people making that point. That's true. Didn't pick that up in the highlights. Humble apologies. All right then, next moment.
You should have went for a goal. No.
Sriracha,
from this angle,
from there,
outside of the left peg.
I think he did the right thing.
Rose
I think he did the right thing. I think Iheanacho has got to take responsibility there because he's looking along the line, and he should be holding his run there. And as it happened, if he had held his run half a yard, he ended up overrunning the ball. I think it ended up going behind him. Right. So if he just held his run back half a yard and stayed in line with that last defender, he'd have probably had a tap in.
Mm-hmm. And then Sriracha again lifts a curling diagonal left ball up to this fella here. That's Kenny. And what does Kenny do with it? He heads it over the bar. So, Brian, at this stage, Kenny's probably thinking, you saw him walking away from that thinking, oh, jeez, that was a good chance. I could have done more with that. And he probably resolved that if anything like that should arise again, he'll definitely bury it. Don't you think that's what he was saying to himself?
Yeah. Getting
And
his
then
eye
what
in it.
happened a few minutes later? Liam Scales from exactly the same position lifts a curling little chip diagonal ball up to, who is it? Kenny. And he just sort of makes a complete arse of it, heads it down into the ground with no direction, no forward force. What a shame.
The
I think
only
one
way.
thing.
Sorry, Stephen,
So,
go ahead.
I think the first chance led to the second, though, didn't it? Because in the first chance, he's got under the ball and headed it over the bar. And so when the second chance came up, he said, I'm definitely getting over the top of this. And it's all, as you'll know, Gav, all good centre forwards, they're always told to header the ball down. So he did that correctly, but he just headed it down at too acute an angle right into the ground. And, if he'd headed it down a bit at an angle, he probably have scored because the keeper would never have got near it. But I think one just led to the other. But Johnny Kenny is Johnny Kenny. We know he's probably not up to the required standard to be Celtic's striker.
I don't think so.
But he's there, and again, we're going to have to play him because he's part of the front rotation. So he is going to see game time, and we just need to hope that he starts to convert these types of chances.
Well, that appears to be all I've got on the game. Is that really the last meaningful thing?
Well, the referee, just looking at what Pat was saying there, the referee, some agricultural challenges from Hibs, as Pat Mann says. Yeah, the ref was rotten. 16 fouls to 1. Yeah.
And were there any particular decisions that irked you? The offside call for the goal? There was a handball incident, wasn't there? Though I didn't get stills
Didn't
off.
see the handball, I think. Yeah.
The
Talk us
worst
through that one
decision
then,
for
Stephen.
the handball, yeah, it was a cross from the left. It was quite late on in the game. It would have been a late penalty, and the guys.
Oh, that's right. It was his back arm kind of thing.
Yeah, and his arm was trailing behind him, and it did hit his arm. But again, we're into the sort of definition of what is and what isn't a penalty. So I don't know is the answer to whether that is considered to be a penalty or not. I mean, it did look to me as if his hand was in an unnatural position, but I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But for me, the worst decision of the lot was Cameron Carter-Vickers' booking, when he slid in. A really good slide tackle, won the ball clean as a whistle, and he stopped the game for a foul to Hibs, and he's booked.
Is that the one against Bowie? Wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the one. It was right after that penalty decision because that was they were screaming at the ref for both basically. But it was an absolutely awful decision by the ref. It was really well placed. And the stat there that Hibs got 16 fouls to our 1. When we've got something like, I don't know what the possession stats were, but probably about 75% possession in the game. And they're trying to tell us they've only committed 1 foul and we've committed 16. Absolute joke.
Yeah. Let me see now. You're talking about what stats there were. I think I've got some images to share about that. There's your possession percentage, 77.2. Well, the bigger stat is 26 shots. 26 shots. Only 6 of which were on target. But look at final third passes completed as well, 259 to 18. As the comment that I had up from Brown Warrior there was, we had loads of chances to score and win that game. And as we said on another day, and it's down to the finishing and blah, blah, blah. I mean, how many times have we said that over a game? We created enough chances to win that game easily. But some days it just doesn't go in for you, and that was one of those.
And Hibs usually play they usually play quite open football, but this time the 10 men behind the ball, so it's not really David Gray was happy to go and get a point. On another day, could have been a 4-3,
Let's look at
people complaining.
Go ahead.
People complaining about a lack of goals, and without a doubt, we're struggling to score. But we have to remember that the arse has been completely ripped out of front three, and we've got basically a brand new left winger, a brand new right winger, and a brand new striker, all trying to find combinations with each other. Whereas before, over the past 4 or 5 seasons, we've had players there like Jota, Leila Bada, and Kuhn last season, all guys who had plenty of time. And let's remember how Kuhn started his Celtic career very, very poorly. So we're still trying to find, combinations between the front three, not to discount the fact we've got new fullbacks as well behind them. So Alistair Johnson's missing. We've got either Donovan or Ralston there, and on the left it's either Tierney or Sriracha. So everything's new, everything's developing, and I'm pretty sure we're only going to get better as these chances. If we keep creating these amount of chances, we're definitely going to score goals. And I think the main thing that gives me comfort is the fact that we've created so many, and we look far more fluid in attack. So it's not time for panicking yet, and this is not the game to be throwing your arms in the air about and shouting the odds about Rodgers this and Rodgers that. We did play well, and we should have won the game comfortably. I know football is about putting the ball in the net, and we struggled to do that. But the main thing is we're creating chances.
Well, let's keep looking at some of the social media responses. Danny Boy here pointing out that it's Hearts, Hibs, Dundee United, Motherwell, Kilmarnock and Livingston who all scored more goals than us in the league. Nothing to see here, he says. Let me see, what else have we got? If I go back here. Oh yeah, this is a good one. Grand old team. Celtic through 6 league matches this century. The 8 goals scored are easily the second fewest. What the hell happened in 1819 when they only had 6? Dembele left. So this is this goals for column. We're at 8 compared to all these numbers, 20, 25, 17, 23, etc., etc. Yeah, so the stats don't lie. Things have been a bit sparse, it's fair to say, so far this season. But I think we're all in agreement that there are signs that we're digging ourselves slightly out of this. And I'm reasonably hopeful that this will continue. What about this player? Do you want to talk about him then, Brian?
Sriracha.
Yeah, you praised him earlier.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about the guy. He's just exactly what we need. He's tough. He's creative. He can last 90 minutes, and between him and KT, there's a good player in there. Again, it's horses for courses. Different guys for different games, and it doesn't matter how many. What are we? 8 games in, 9 games in, something like that. Come back to us when it's 15 games, and if the same things are happening, then we've got to worry. But I have no concerns. It would be nice to win 4 or 5-0 every week, but the way the team are playing well, I can't really complain. Although we're second,
well, we're not playing terribly well, but we're starting to play a bit. But I want to bring up a point that Stephen sort of mentioned there. Is I know Stephen doesn't like it when people point the finger at Brendan, especially not in this current environment. That there's a sort of there's like a bit of an embargo on, or a moratorium on saying anything against Brendan. Here's a post from St. Anthony. The furore sounding the board is shielding Brendan Rodgers from criticism. Celtic have played 11 competitive games this season. In 8 of them we failed to score in the first half. That's an awful stat. The Celtic team is the most sterile in years. Stephen would point me to the response he gave a few moments ago about player turnover and all these new players in attacking positions and also in the fullbacks. But let's just see what some people are saying here. Like Rodgers will never change the system, too stubborn. Somebody else is saying, I divide and conquer. We see you. You telling me if Rodgers had have had quality players in, such as Matt O'Reilly, Kyogo Anita, as well as Jota, that he wouldn't have continued scudding teams? It's the squad that's the problem. Stay on topic and stop trying to distract. I mean, two things can be right at the same time. Do you think, Brian, I'll go to Brian first of all, and then we'll come back to Stephen for his rebuttal of any suggestion that this is okay. Somebody else makes the point, like, this squad should be more than good enough to be winning Premier League games in Scotland, Brian. And Brendan's tactics and refusal to change systems and continue to play Callum McGregor and all that is a major problem. Do you see it as such?
He doesn't really have a plan B. And I'm sure we've heard this all along. He sticks to the rigid 4-3-3, one man up front. If you're going to get teams coming, putting 11 men, 10 men behind the ball, how do you unlock that? You unlock that by using players like Tenetsky and Balagwisha and flair players who are not predictable. Again, Rodgers can only work with what he has. Tunekti, yeah, thank you. He can only work with what he has, and judge him after 15 games. They're still, some boys aren't even match fit yet. I mean, Iheanacho's, I'd say another 3 or 4 games he should be there. But the problem is with the board and what we can put on the pitch. Rodgers, obviously, he was playing Negrin because there were a couple of goals in Negrin. Personally, I wouldn't have bothered myself. I would have had Ingles in there, but who am I? I'm just a fan. But I think, look where we are. Okay, the Champions League, I hold him culpable for that, but not 100% culpable. We should have had enough to beat the team from Kazakhstan over the two. But at home, we were rank rotten. Could he have changed that? Who knows? But just have to keep not saying blind faith, but Rodgers ain't the problem. The problem's up above. The problem's upstairs and not getting players in. And you ask yourself, had Tunetki and Iheanacho been playing against Kairat, would we have won? Well, Tunekti, we would have had a better chance with them in the squad. So give the man the tools he needs to do his job.
Stephen, you're going to echo those sentiments?
Well, the first thing I would say was, that everybody's talking about the system this and the system that. Well, the same system last season led us to the biggest goals total since the Lisbon Lions. So there's nothing wrong with the system. The system's fine. We know that for a fact. The only problem is the personnel within the system. And all this sort of rubbish about he never changes anything, never changes this. Well, he changed it yesterday. He went in with a different shape of midfield yesterday. And he went in with Diaz Amadi on the right-hand side. So he's changing things constantly. He's tweaking things within games. Just because he starts with the same starting formation, it doesn't mean he's not tweaking things within games. He's a highly technical manager, Brendan Rodgers, and he's constantly tweaking things. Now, you might not agree with some of the things, and I don't always agree with the substitutions yesterday. For instance, I would have tended to try and leave Iheanacho on a bit longer because he looked most likely to get a goal, but it may have been struggling. He may have been blowing out his arse. We don't know. You don't know that, but the fact of the matter is, Rodgers has proved himself. Rodgers has proved himself. He's the second, in terms of trophies won, he's the second best manager in the club's history behind Jock Stein. That's not debatable. That's fact. In his career at Celtic, he's delivered trophy after trophy after trophy. But the sad fact of the matter is, there's some fans among the support that just won't ever take to him, and are quite happy. Almost happy that the team's struggling at the moment because it means he can turn their ire on the manager. And I blocked a couple on Twitter today. I've noticed the sort of the picture of Rodgers' head with the red line going through it, similar to the ones the fans have been holding up for Nicholson and Lowell. That started appearing on social media with some sort of comments like "get out of my club" and all this sort of stuff. So I blocked a few on Twitter today because that sort of stuff is just completely out of order. And until he's given the tools for the job, when you consider, and I don't necessarily buy into the fact that we should have beat Almaty. When you look at some of the personnel, don't forget we started Yang on the right hand side against Almaty, and Yang's a guy who wouldn't be a walk-up starter for any other team in the SPFL. That's the brutal truth, and yet we're starting in a Champions League qualifier, and you can make that same comparison with guys like Anthony Ralston and guys like that. We just don't have the personnel, and it's pretty arrogant to assume that we were going to bowl up with half a team and put Almaty away, and we got what we deserved from that game because we didn't prepare properly, and we're half a team. So Rodgers has proved all he needs to. He doesn't have anything left to prove, and don't get me wrong, he's going at the end of the season, so all these half-wits will get their will. He's going to move on at the end of the season, and the next man up, probably Sean Maloney, will be brought in, and he'll
waving that terrorising flag of Sean Maloney or
Jim
Kennedy.
Well, tell me this: a couple of weeks ago, and I wish I'd kept the picture. There was a charity initiative at Celtic Park, something to do with motor neuron disease, and they were doing some sort of charity campaign, and the man they had front and centre of that was Sean Maloney. Now, we've seen him. If you look at the training videos that come out of Lennoxtown, the club are pushing, Celtic TV are pushing, Sean Maloney's always there. He's a Pathways development manager. What is he doing in a training session? What is he doing?
Developing his own pathway.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they're doing. They're introducing the idea of Sean Maloney as a manager. The Celtic cheerleaders in the media are introducing the idea of Sean Maloney as a manager, and that's clearly the plan. Now, whether or not they get away with that or not, I think the fans are onto them, and I think people are wise to that now. And I don't think they'll get away with it. I think it'd be too controversial a choice at the moment. But if you don't like Brendan Rodgers, hang around for half a season because he'll be gone, and then we'll see where we are after that.
Yeah, no, Stephen, I'd like to sort of poo-poo your extremism there, but I've learned my lesson because all of your worst case scenarios have come to fruition. You were like, if we're not careful, we're gonna lose to this Kairat. We're not gonna be in the Champions League. We're gonna drop out of that, etc., etc. And so gone are the days when I say you're an alarmist. I think it's fair to say. Are you worried about? Oh, go ahead. You want to respond to that?
No. I was just going to say, is that another way of you saying I was right?
You were right, Stephen. Yes.
Thanks.
Did you never hear that from your missus or something? Okay, I'll do it. You were right, Stephen. Well done.
Never.
That's what we're here for. Brian, are you worried about Hearts?
No.
Premier table on this day, 2018. Celtic were sixth, 6 points behind Hearts. They finished the season 36 points ahead of Hearts. Wow, that was a big swing. You're not concerned at all? You think it's only a matter of time before they drop away?
They will drop away. The only thing is they don't have any European football, which I suppose is a norm for them. But now let's see how well they do whenever they have to come to Celtic Park. They have the Hibs derby, the Hibs Hearts Edinburgh derby. I don't worry about them. They're just, it's like the year they were topping at Hartley and Presley and Gordon. And your big man was a George Burley manager. They won their first 11 matches. Then we got the title back. No worries about Hearts. Hearts, horrible fans, horrible team. Yeah. No worries.
If you think back 12 months, if you're worried about Hearts, just think back 12 months and see what the table was like 12 months ago. We were neck and neck with Aberdeen for about the first third of the season. And look at them now. They'll be lucky to still be in the league next year. So I don't think we need to worry too much about Hearts. I think that there's a very good chance that Tony Bloom will do some good things there, but their measure of success will be finishing in a European place. and potentially, maybe even finishing above Rangers. But we shouldn't be worrying about Hearts at all. We haven't even played them yet, and if we play them and they're miles better than us, then maybe we start to get concerned then. But we've just come off the back of a disastrous transfer window, all self-inflicted problems in the club, and we're still sitting up there just behind them. So I wouldn't be too worried at all.
I mean, McGuinness very rarely beats Celtic in as many years. I can't think of one game he's beaten us.
Well, the media are always bigging him up, aren't they? Scottish media love Derek.
I mean, that's see the thing. I'm not talking about the other mob, but if they had any balls that have hired him or your man Stephen Robinson, one of the two, but they went for Ross Martin or Ross Abbott or whatever the hell they call him. I don't rate him. He's one of these. He's like Steve Clark, and you probably get annoyed with me, Stephen, but I just don't find him very inspiring. Your man Derek McGuinness, old school footballer, have the beard, have the tweed or whatever else he wears. Shove your beard up your arse. Sorry, Steve.
I think that's the issue with Tony Bloom Hearts, though, and all this sort of data analytical approach that's meant to be revolutionary by Tony Bloom. If Tony Bloom's model has produced Derek McInnes for manager, then I would say it's fundamentally broken. It needs to get himself a new computer.
Yes, they're pretty unlikely bedfellows, aren't they, those two, you have to say. Speaking of Rangers there, I did watch the first half of their game the other day. It was a bit like watching us, I have to say. There was the horseshoe going on, the sort of disjointed midfield, strikers not finishing, not being clinical. But they were quite heartened by their game, at least their first half against Livingston. That seems to have been the best they played, so they too might start putting some sort of results together. But it was only very recently that they lost to Genk, of course. You saw that, didn't you? And O's heroics, his never say die attitude. That was good to see, wasn't it?
It was.
That sort of sums him up. He misses a penalty. He missed a penalty. He missed a goal. I don't know. He scored. He missed a penalty, and then did he get booked all in the one game? I think. Am I whistling Dixie?
Well, did you see this?
No, he did. He missed a couple of sitters, and he missed a penalty before he actually scored. So, yeah, you're right, Brian. It was the entire. We got the entire O experience, all wrapped up and all bundled up nicely for us, because we've seen it before.
Yeah, definitely happy for him. In fact, people have been calling out for a song, 420 somewhere. Shall we take one from the vault?
Yep.
Because we're never going to play O again, probably, on the show, unless it's just a nostalgic trip down memory lane. So let's have a wee bit of a sing-song with Oh Hyun Gyu. This was at a time where he was starting to show a bit of promise, and we were thinking, oh, maybe this boy does have something. Anyway, sit back, relax, and enjoy this tune. When we had a striker to see, he came to replace the Greek. Rose King. Dear, oh dear. Well, I'll leave a positive comment up for a while, shall I? As we
headless chicane, brilliant.
Oh, how we've missed it. Oh, how we've missed these musical interludes.
Ah, dear. It's all good fun. Yeah, I mean, as I said before, the ones I've made recently are just not right for the time. Because players aren't. I mean, you can't do one about Engels. I did a really good one about Engels. I really want to release to the world, the waiting world, But he needs to play a few good games, first of all. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, everything's too serious just now, isn't it? Everything's just too... there's no hilarity around the place anymore, and anything resembling like parody or anything like that would go down like a burning Spitfire. So probably best avoided at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. All right, well, let's turn our attention to the Europa League. Well, God, we're coming up on the hour already. Nacional beat Braga for the first time in 12 years. Don't know if you saw that. That's pretty good news. Let me see, I think I've got some picks here. Do we know where they are in the league? Any idea, lads?
Yeah. I think they're somewhere like 7th or something in the Portuguese. Or they were the last time I looked. They were sitting 7th in the league.
There you go. 7th in the league. And look at their run of results recently. Not been too clever. That's quite encouraging. Where is Braga? Brian, you like a bit of geography, don't you?
Yeah.
Where's Braga? It's in the north of Portugal, above Porto. There's Porto.
Yeah.
And this is the border with Spain. There's Celta Vigo, where, what's his name Starfelt. So there's Braga there. You were going to ask a question?
Near Guimaraes. No, I was going to go back to the stat. Can you go back to the slide with the last few games? Right. See where it says at the top, win. How do you know which is the latest game? Right.
I think it's the one on the right.
The one on the right. So if we're looking at Braga.
On the other side of the line.
Right. So their last game was a loss.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can never work that out. I don't know where to go left or right to left, but there we go. Thank you.
Yeah, left to right is the timeline. Pretty sure. What do we think about this game then? Are we excited for it? Is the excitement building in the McCutcheon house in Sydney for the Europa League? Suddenly, if you're singing the theme tune to that.
Whatever that is. There's two ways of looking at this game. One is, they don't look on the face of the league form there. They don't look like a very good side. But on the basis of the last game last week, and I did watch the highlights of that game, and they've got a few good players when they beat Feyenoord in the first match day one, and that's again we're going to have to play Feyenoord as well, so we'll get a flavour of what they're like as well. But they played well against Feyenoord last week, and clearly they've got something about them. We have played them before. I think under Neil Lennon we had a disastrous Europa League two-legged tie against them and they put us out. So I think hopefully us being at home will give us the upper hand. And if we keep the momentum going from the game on the weekend and play like that again, and then I can see us scoring goals against them. The good news from this season, and we haven't spoken about it much tonight, is our defence has looked excellent. And we're not giving away, although we're not scoring goals, we're not giving up chances either. And that's what you need in Europe, because all you need, you're not going to blow teams away in the Europa League. You're going to win games by the odd goal. So if you keep a clean sheet, and then you've still got half a chance. So look, I think it's a 2:45 a.m. kickoff here in Sydney. So I don't think I'm not going to be watching it live. I'll watch it on delay later on in the night. But yeah, I've got high hopes.
And then the rhetoric will change if your high hopes come to fruition, as Patman says there. Are you going to be watching it live, Brian?
Yep, I'll be watching it live with Hooper at the ready. I've brought the Hoover out every time Celtic play, just because we'll do anything to watch Celtic. I think we'll be all right. It's exciting to get to watch games during the week. It sort of breaks the week of work up. It's always good to get watching the Celts on Thursday. So we'll definitely be watching it. And I would like to see Bernardo in there, with him being Portuguese and all that, and he may know some of the opposition, but probably won't be playing. But I'll look forward to it. I think we'll win 2-1.
Here's my hair saying Braga, or Braha, as I'm reliably told it's pronounced. Full forward line full of green new recruits with minimal game data. Two very dangerous mids. But the much more important question is posed by Jezebel. Is McCutcheon Irish or Scottish? Does she mean the name or the person? Is she referring to you there, McCutcheon?
Well,
Probably the name.
To me, well, both me and the name are Scottish, so that's the answer. McCutcheon is a name sort of originates down the sort of west coast sort of area, down the sort of Galloway, Ayrshire end of Scotland, but definitely a Scottish name, and I'm definitely a born and bred Scotsman. Although my mum's family, as I think I've mentioned before, were all West Cork, so I do have the Irish in me.
Well, there's two types of people in the world: those who have the Irish in them, and those who want to have the Irish in them.
Is that your chat line, was it?
Monty asking Brian, why are you watching the game with a Hoover?
Well, last couple of matches I've been stressed out and I've decided to Hoover, and then I bought a Vax carpet cleaner. I have 3 dogs, you see, and they all like to leave messages for me. So to try and counterbalance the stress levels of watching Celtic, I do the hoovering at the same time. I'd rather not do it, or be 2-0 up after like 5 minutes so I can chill and relax, but I have to keep myself busy.
Very good.
Do that or a bottle of vodka, so you can't really do that on a Thursday.
Either that or what?
A bottle of vodka.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Well, one thing that would have me reaching...
I see Frank Kennedy's back in the chat again there, Gav. The return of Frank. I haven't seen him for a while, but he's offering me advice there to record the game. So I'll get my VHS tape looked out, get it recorded.
Frank Kennedy's not the name of the person from the past who was.
No, it wasn't Kennedy. It was another
Frank.
Frank, an Irish-sounding name.
Was it Brennan?
Brennan, Frank Brennan.
Frank Brennan, that's it.
Yeah. I'm getting mixed up. My fault.
Frank Kennedy, we take it back. Very sorry. The views and opinions expressed by Stephen are not those of a Celtic world. Oh, there's a dirty protest from Brian. Hated that so much. He's left. This is one thing that would get me reaching for the bottle of vodka. Simon Donnelly on comms. Did you have him on comms for the game?
Yeah.
Iniacho and Tunetsky. I mean, for crying out loud. Good job I'm watching Celtic TV illegally, I say. You pay for quality. Yeah, I've refused to renew my Celtic TV recently.
Mm-hmm.
So, but still, you see it through fair means or foul, don't you? One way or t'other.
Yeah, you do. I mean, I think if you're working for the club channel, you're making some sort of effort to pronounce the players' names properly. So there's really no excuse for that, is there?
Brian, did you leave in protest?
No, I didn't. I sort of had my fingers over the mouse area and managed to close the site down. Yeah. No protest.
All right. Well, look, we better wrap it up here, lads. So we'll leave it with this. I don't know if you saw this on social media. The sprinkler system at Livingston spraying on the Rangers fans, accidentally drenching them.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'm sure that was an accident, right enough.
Well,
class.
All right. Well, look, great chat, everyone in the live chat. I see the Frank Brennan mention is creating quite a kerfuffle, which is quite amusing. Yeah, Frank is hasn't been around the Celtic World chat for a long, long time, and remains, in fact, the only person I think to have been excluded for abusive behaviour on a long-term basis. We had a little brief spat with Monty, but as you can see, he's well and truly back and enjoying himself. That's good to see. All right, so thank you everyone in the chat, as always. It's a delight. Thank you to Stephen in Perth and Brian in Ireland.
Sydney. Right, Gav.
Sydney.
Goodness me. I'm so sorry. How could I do that? Stephen in Sydney. Yeah, I'm used to saying Perth with the other boys who are going to be on actually later on today, 1:30 p.m. Celtic Park time with the tactical review. So if you want a deeper dive into the game and the substitutions and the tactics and the shape and the things that we kind of touch on but don't explore in tremendous depth, Anthony and Paul will be doing that at 1:30. But as for us, who like to talk a bit of, tangential BS, that's us for tonight. See you on the next one. Cheerio, lads.
Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.